go time.
Seriously.
Looks good.
Heck of a baby bump.
Profile there, baby.
Jason Phelps getting calls. All he does is sit on his butt and
No, that's my whole motto. That's why we build good calls so you don't have to walk to them. He does. Freaking disgusting.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. We are back with another episode of
Phelps Elk Nuggets.
Yes, Phelps Elk Nuggets. And, today I wanted to ask you something about highly pressured elk. I kind of want to get into that topic a little bit. Often when I hear guys talk about, Aaron and I talk about this, and one of our main solutions for handling a situation where there's highly pressured elk is we leave and go somewhere where they're not highly pressured.
Yep.
And often that means getting deep into the backcountry. Now, I've had a few people write in and say, oh, please, you don't have to hike miles and miles and miles to get on elk. You guys just like to hunt the backcountry. There's lots of elk right off the road that you can hunt where you don't have to hike that hard or work that hard. And I don't disagree with that. Just that I do know that most of the time you're going to get into less elk that have been far less pressured the deeper you go.
Correct.
Just people don't go there. Now, if you're on a main trail, though, that's like the Minum and you go up 9 miles and then you're there. Sometimes you can get back there and there's 5 camps. So, then they're highly pressured there more than they are back on the road.
Yep.
If you stayed like right off the road. So, backcountry hunting doesn't guarantee that you're going to get away from the pressure. There's a lot more to it. And we have spent a lot of time hunting right off the road. It's not like we haven't killed our elk that way. We have. We've driven around. We bugle. We drive a little bit further. We bugle. We drive a little bit further. We bugle. We've done that lots of times. We'll cover 15 miles in the morning, bugling from the truck every 200 yards. We're those guys. And
Because it bloody worked.
It works. And we'll get a bull that bugles. I might hike a mile or 2 or 3 miles in the backcountry and do the same thing. I didn't cover 15 miles. I covered 3. So some of that is just, ground covered.
Yep.
That said, that's not really the hunting experience I want often. What I want is that backcountry hunting experience where I'm hunting fish, pristine lakes where I'm catching fish from the lake and I'm eating them in the wild and there's nobody else there and there's clear skies.
Like when you went with the goats?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to do that before I die.
We went into the Eagle Caps with the goats and pack goats, which is a whole other podcast. And we're by ourselves. I mean, these elk and the fish, we catch a fish with every cast. And the elk are they haven't seen a human all season, right? And they were the easiest thing to call in on the planet. Like, mew, 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 boom, they come walking in. It's they just aren't pressured, okay? Yep. And so you can get those experiences if you can get back where nobody else has gone. But getting an elk 14 miles out of just the gnarliest, nastiest country that's straight up and down, that's a huge undertaking, even if you have 4 lazy goats to help you. So, but no, it makes a difference getting in deep, but it's not the perfect solution. And there's a lot of elk that you can get into right off the road that aren't very, very pressured. What we want to talk about today is not necessarily whether you leave or you stay but let's say you're there and you are among pressured elk.
What do you do? Give me a big nugget because last year I was like that though. Yeah. For me, I was out there and I saw more bloody hunters than I did animals, and I just was getting choked. So what do I do?
Give us a big, giant nugget.
I want extra large this time.
Nugget
with a bloody guarantee. No, I'm just.
Yeah. So first thing I do is I'm typically not as vocal. I'm not going to call to these elk near as much. If they're highly pressured, I'm assuming they've seen people, they've heard people, they've probably been potentially called in by people. They've probably associated, calling with people, whether it's scent, sight.
So do they become shy? Like they just.
I'd say they become reserved, a little more reserved. They still got to live. They still got to come to water. They still got to mate. He's still maybe bugling.
It's funny. I've seen them bugle. They still bugle. They still rut, but they'll go. And their sound carries like 100 yards or 50 yards.
Really?
And they're rutting and they're chasing, and the cows are going, meow. Like they're all like still rutting, but quietly.
They've all just toned it down. Like
that. See, I've been in spots where they're still cranking, but you're not going to be able to call them in. You go to call, and he's going to.
That's the other thing too.
He's going to run down the creek bottom, or up the other side of the mountain.
They're so educated by callers that they're to the point where they just assume every sound is a human, and they just get out of there.
Yeah. So the first strategy we use is just ambush. I mean, if your whole goal is to call an elk in, it might not be as exciting, and you may not get the huge interaction you do when you're trying to call an elk in. But if you can sit with these elk enough, a lot of times, we've screwed up like that. Last time we screwed up 5 days in a row, had to change tactics. You stop doing. We'll watch them. We'll watch them where they feed and where they go into bed, and a lot of times it'll be cyclic. They'll do the same thing, and we may try to ambush them. Just try to get in between where they want to be and where they're at.
So you're watching them to say they go here, they go here, they go here, they go here.
And a lot of times,
then you go, I'm going to get them right bloody there.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's just a generality. I can't say he's going to be right here, but I'm just trying to put myself in somewhere within that where I can either make a run up or down or try to get ahead of him or cut him off.
Right.
In that effect, and then the other side. The other tactic that we've used a lot is just, what doesn't work with a two-man and a camera is get one guy to locate him if he's responding, and then send the other guy in to slip in. That way he doesn't feel threatened. You're 300-400 yards away bugling at him. He may respond. As long as he hasn't turned tail and ran out of there. A lot of times you can maybe sneak a guy in.
When you're going in and you go in, because the last time with them, get out there, and I'm running in, but they were screaming at us. So are you going in quick? You going in? In
that one, I'm probably going to go in, at least close the majority of the distance as quick as possible.
Quick as possible.
And then, probably slow down when I get in tight. But
so I have one thing that we've done is touch on that, elaborate on that. Is the elk are plenty loud at night.
Oh,
it's like okay, the hunters have all turned in, then they go nuts, and so. We will get up a couple hours before daylight, and we'll start bugling in the morning, in the dark. We'll bugle at night, too, and figure out where they're at night, and then we'll come back in the morning. But we'll bugle, and then while they're still screaming in the dark, we start moving in on them right then. And we do the three-man setup where we'll have, one guy back bugling that keeps them pinpointed. Then it allows us in the dark to just go as fast as we can to get in position right on top of them. Keep the wind as best we can, keep it right.
Yep.
And they'll usually bugle to their heart's content if it's still dark and it's not, the sun isn't coming up. But they are ready. As soon as that sun is up, they're either moving before the sun is up or they're moving to get to their bedding area pretty quickly in a highly pressured situation. So we normally get in there as fast as we can, right on top of them. And then as the sun is coming up, we try to make our play. We try to, like you said, we don't try to bugle at all or cow call because that makes them. It's like they just move away to another spot. Now, if I can get in their path on their way to somewhere else, and I'm kind of in the midst of a group of cows and stuff, then I'll use a little estrus or a cow call to sort of get the bull to veer off maybe 15 or 20 yards or 30 yards closer to where I'm at. I might use a cow call then. Otherwise, I'm really just trying to get in and stalk the animal without using calls.
Yep. Yeah, you touched on night locating. Not necessarily a pressured elk tactic, but that's another tidbit. If you can spare the sleep and can get out there at night and or early in the morning, I sleep so much better knowing that I've got 2 or 3 bugling bulls somewhat pinpointed
in a canyon.
Yeah, and a lot of times we're like, well, they're moving up, so in the morning I'm trying to say, well, there's a likelihood he's going to be in the upper end of this basin, so you're trying to, put that together and where you want to be first thing in the morning. We use
back to what Mark said. when we had when I had this bull coming charging in my experience, in Mark's shoes, I get out there, I check the wind, and then I get out there as fast as I can. I'm not worried about making noise because he's 200 yards away.
Yep.
And I am running, try to get as close as I can to this bull while he's coming in. And then once I get to a range where he might hear me or whatever, then I sit tight, But usually when they're that hot and they're coming in, they're screaming all the way in. They often stop at 100 or 150 yards, 80 yards, depending how thick it is, and they just kind of hang up right there.
Yep. They're looking for what they're hearing. Yeah, they expect to be an elk.
And so where Mark went out there, most guys that are just starting out, they won't be aggressive enough in getting out there. So they'll take 10 steps and 15 steps, but that bull is so far away. And if he does hear you, he just thinks you're elk anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Right. I mean, that's one of the reasons I archery elk hunt, because rifle elk hunting I got to be quiet. At least archery elk hunting I can make noise. I'm clumsy. I can trip over sticks. And
that's right.
It's just natural. It's part of the game of being close.
That's right.
You can get away with so much more. Yeah, the whole thing bumping elk. We still bump a lot of elk, but you can get away with a lot as long as the wind's right.
And where
super aggressive.
Where we were at, there were elk everywhere. And so if Mark ran out there 50 yards in front of me and got there immediately, because that bull came in so fast that Mark hadn't got too far into position before the bull was already there.
Already coming.
But Mark was
that was the first time.
The first time, and Mark was being real careful and cautious. But you don't have to be. And if you do make a bunch of noise when you're running out, you run 60, 70 yards out there to get in position, and the bull's gone kind of quiet because he heard something, all I do, if that happens, is my other guy's still calling, but maybe he went quiet because he heard me. I just do a little cow call, and he's like, oh, that's just a cow. Right. And then he comes charging in, and he doesn't care about me either. He's really trying to get to where the bull is and all the excitement is, and I'm trying to sound like a herd.
Yeah, you're just a cow that's there.
And there's an estrus and a bull screaming. I'm just a cow that's kind of there, like all the other cows that were just scattered everywhere at that moment. I'm just one more noise.
Yeah, getting in those, we kind of call those rut fests. If you get multiple bulls and cows are scattered and there's no order in that herd at that point, crazy stuff happens. And you get away with a lot being super aggressive. Yeah. We've ran at elk, we've ran at cows, just trying to we want her to get out of here because we've got multiple bulls over here, and it doesn't matter if she runs. And
does she run?
Yeah.
So in highly pressured areas, I also glass a lot more.
Yeah.
Try to use. I try not to use as much calling, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We'll spend midday, whether on a typical hunt we might be sleeping because we know we've got action. We know we've got bulls that'll be there. We may climb high on a ridgetop and try to glass down into spots or into cliffs or these spots where these pressured elk are going to bed during the day, and trying to pick them up and make a play that way.
All right, I think that did. That wraps up this episode of Phelps Elk Nuggets.
That's right. Cheers.
Stay great.
Yeah, you stay great big time. Thank you.
Okay, Gritty friends, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram. And take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word Gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.